Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Samurai Brothers. This is episode 55 of our podcast. And Matthew, we are now at day 8 of the Aki September Basho. We're halfway through it already. I guess there's been some surprises, but things are actually going the way that they should, at least for some people.
Yeah, and predictability, I think, actually makes it a little bit more exciting in some ways, because there's still
so. There's still a week.
Let's see if some surprises pop up to kind of mix things up a bit.
Yes. So we'll get right into it then. Day 8 results after we've seen what happened throughout the what's happened throughout the Basho. So as of day 8 in Makuuchi, well, let's start with Juryo. So Juryo, I think the last wrestler who was undefeated was Mita, and he lost yesterday on day 8. So I think now there are 2 people at 7-1 in the Juryo division, and there's 5 people at 6-2. So they're in the running. So Mita and Ko Tokuzan at 7-1, and then at 6-2, Oshomi, Nishiki Fuji, Fuji Seiyun, Asa Hakuryu, and the former Ozeki Asano Yama. So I think Oshomi would be trying to get into the Makuuchi division for the first time. Mita is J4, so he could try and make it too. If Ko Tokuzan were to finish like 13-2, even a 12-3 might get him in, and I think he has been in the division before, so he could possibly return if he has a successful record. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Asanoyama is still kind of healing up from that knee injury he had a year ago or so. So, I don't expect him to be I didn't expect him to be dominant. Like, I thought he would get Kachikoshi, but not dominant to really win the division. Thoughts so far on the Juryo division, Matthew?
Well, I haven't been watching the Juryo division, so I can't really comment.
Okay.
And then not to mention NHK World, which is my source of watching the sumo highlights, because and NHKs and the Sumo Association have just come down on sumo YouTubers from translating everything. So I'm stuck with unless a relative of ours invests in Jamie, I'm stuck with watching what's on NHK World, and things have actually been going a little funky there as well. But anyways, that's neither here or there. So I haven't watched anything related to Juryo. I remember when like at actual NHK, when they would start, it would typically include some Juryo matches.
Yeah.
Possibly. It would depend on like how the other divisions went that day. Like if they went quicker, then they'd be, then you'd see more of Juryo, you'd see less of Juryo, but you typically see all of Makuuchi.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we'll move right into the Makuuchi division then. So we have one person undefeated on the leaderboard right now, and that is Yokozuna Hoshoryu. So I know he got a lot of flack from the Yokozuna Deliberation Council last Basho after withdrawing. So hopefully he's going to be at least quelling that criticism. But depending on how the old men at the table are.
It's really irritating when these guys get buyer's remorse, and then it's like, you are the ones who pushed this through. You are the ones. You can't. It's like you can't be upset with your own decisions. You know what the standard is about a yokozuna.
Yeah,
So
and
like, either deal with it or shut up.
yeah, because I know they got eviscerated by Japanese commenters on social media, and rightfully
Yeah,
so.
there
I
is.
think.
Yeah. It's like you are the ones who approved it. You've got no one to blame but yourself. You can't go and have buyer's remorse on something like this. You
Yeah.
know what the standards are. And did he minimally meet the qualification standards? Yes, he minimally met the qualification standards. And maybe he should have had one or two more tournaments, but you're the ones who decided to, if you fast tracked him, you're the guys who did it. Like it's like I keep saying, like Ono Sato and Hoshoryu got much easier routes to Yokozuna than even someone like Takakeisho. I think if they were using the same standards, Takakeisho should have been a Yokozuna. Because there were several times where he won 2 Yosho in a row as an Ozeki. But they didn't push him through.
Well, no, okay.
He had at least 1-2 Basho streak. It's similar to like how Konishiki had a 2 Basho streak. So
he had what Hoshoryu had. He had a Jun Yusho, and then he had a Yusho, and they didn't promote him. So you're right in that sense. Not 2 Yusho in a row, but he did have. In fact, he had that on 2 occasions. He had a Jun Yusho, then a Yusho on 2 occasions, and they didn't.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. So
him.
yeah, but the reason, and here's the reality of it. The reason why they pushed Hoshoryu through and they didn't push Takakeisho through is because Takakeisho was during the Hakuho era. Hoshoryu was the only person possible to, in order to keep a Yokozuna when it came to the fact that Teruno Fuji was retiring. They wanted a Yokozuna, and so they pushed a Yokozuna through.
Yes, absolutely right. And actually, the second time that Takakeisho had that run was actually, I think, let me check really quick, because it was 2023. So that was actually the second time he did it was post Hakuho, when it was just Teruno Fuji on. And Teruno Fuji sat out that Basho. I'm looking at it right now. Teruno Fuji sat out that Basho. So if they had done that, then both Yokozuna would have had to be Yokozuna Ozeki. I think, unfortunately for Takakeisho, I think injuries notwithstanding, because he was gone, I think. Let me see here. He was gone in less than 2 years after that second run. So even if, well, not that this is anything to say that whether it was good or bad, but he would not have gotten far after, because I think just these injuries, after that second run, he only completed 1, 2, 3, 4 Basho. There was a 5th Basho where he got Kachikoshi, but he withdrew after getting his 8th win. So he only fought all 15 days for 4 Basho after that second run, which included the 11-4 Yusho, which was his 4th Yusho.
Speaking of which, are we going to talk about the fact that he's lost a tremendous amount of weight?
Yeah, he's lost what? Something like 60 kilos or something like that.
He is skinny.
He looks like a kid.
Yeah, he's a little dinky guy.
He really bulked up at the time. Yeah, he looks nothing like he did. Probably because now, since he's not eating, he probably can't even keep on the weight. That's one.
Well, as I recall, the reason why he was big to begin with is initially, like, apparently his dad fed him hamburgers when he was.
Yeah, he made him eat like lots of McDonald's and stuff like that.
Yeah, which for Japanese culture is something, because the average Japanese kid is not a stick, but definitely on the slender side.
Yeah. Yeah, but he has lost a lot of weight. That's pretty something.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, so we kind of moved back into because yeah, we did quite a bit of a squirrel there.
But yeah, so yeah, Hoshoryu is
He's 8-0.
He's looking very healthy and
He's
this
been
is a
very
kind of a pattern. This kind of a pattern with Hoshoryu. He if he has a bad basho or a basho with an injury, he will go. Has this mentality of he will go back and he will train once he's healed up because he doesn't like
kind
bad
of,
performances. Which he does have bad performances every so often, but then he'll go back and he'll be like, I don't want to. He always tries to stay hungry, and it's good to see Yokozuna like that. And being that he's the first, he's currently Zensho, and he's leading the pack. This might be his first Yusho as a Yokozuna.
Yes, it would be. Well, I mean, even if Onosato were to win, it would also be his first Yusho Yokozuna. One of them is gonna, if they end up, one of them does end up winning, it's their first Yusho as Yokozuna. So with that being said, also Onosato, so he did have one loss, but it's it's a bit of a different week compared to the last Basho. So Onosato is standing at 7-1. Although I would say that as this time last Basho he was 6-2. So, a whole variety of things could happen.
He's doing better too, even though that one was a Kinboshi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he did give up one Kinboshi, but
and it was unfortunately Oho, right?
Haku Oho, yes.
Haku, yeah, Haku, who, as we know, is one of the rising stars of the division.
Yeah, fighting through injuries, but he is one of the rising stars. He's sitting at 5-3.
He's doing pretty good for a guy who's fighting through injuries.
Yeah, he beat the defending champion Koto Shoho today, who is at 2-6. So obviously, that's no surprise. Koto Shoho. Well,
we were talking about Koto Shoho, where he was in Makunouchi, had a easy basho. He should have faced more Sanyaku than he did. But of course, he was never going to face Koto Zakura, his stablemate. So he should have faced more guys, more upper challenging guys. Instead, he had an easy path to the basho. So I'm going to just attribute that to a fluke.
Yes, I will say that his highest rank is M3. And he's only had a winning record at he's been M5 a few times in his career. However, he's only had a winning record at that rank once, and that was in 8-7. So he's not really M4 and above. He's never had a.
He's a middle of the pack guy. Like I said,
he's a middle of the pack guy. Again, he was that last.
Yeah, this last basho. This last basho was a fluke.
Yes, it was. Like Tokushoryu's Yusho was a fluke. But that being said, so that's where he's at. But Onosato is 7-1. Koto Zakura doing okay. Not in any real danger as of yet, but he's at 5-3. A loss to Takayasu, who, we're seeing now that not having as great a basho as he did last basho, because he's at 2-6 at this point.
I think he's gonna get at least 2 more losses and fall out of Sanyaku.
Yeah.
So last basho he was gifted a place in the Sanyaku and he took advantage of it. Unfortunately,
not this time.
It seems like he's it seems like he doesn't have what it takes in the tank this time around.
So the one who is, I would, the standout who continues to impress, Aonishiki, 6-2. Now, he does have his day one loss to Onosato, and then he also lost to Oho. Now he has yet to face Hoshoryu, so that should be an exciting match. But this guy just, just works his way around. He somehow manages. And I think depending on how the Sekiwake do, because Kirishima, after I think it was a 4-0 start for Kirishima.
Dropped
He's now,
4.
yeah, if I'm looking at his, yes, start off strong at 4-0, and he's dropped his next 4.
Yeah, he's not making Old Zeki.
No, he's not making Ozeki.
Not this Basho. Maybe down the line, not this Basho.
Yeah, he's gonna be lucky to even make Kachikoshi, because he's still got, well, day 9 he's facing his Sekiwake counterpart Wakataka Kage, and then he still has Otozakura and he has the Yokozuna. So
yeah, he's got a hard second week.
Yeah, he's got a hard second week. That's not easy. Wakataka Kage, on the other hand, at 5-3 now. There is this consensus that the threshold for him to make Ozeki this Basho is 11 wins, and at 5-3, it's a pretty tough road to
yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he makes Ozeki this Basho.
I think if he can keep it at 10-5, I think he'll keep it. He'll keep his hopes alive.
Yeah, that's at this point he has to set it up for next Basho. That's
now, the only thing that I could see happen is, let's say he goes 11-4. Even if his early losses are questionable, I think if he can beat all 3 of the wrestlers above him, and he goes 11-4, he's definitely in. Definitely, because he's got 33, and he beat all the top rankers. That's normally something that the Kyokai is looking for.
Well, and he has to face the top 3 guys at some point anyway. So let's say he does face them. Even if he loses, if you lose one of those guys, the fact of the matter is he would have beaten 2 out of the 3. So
yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah, but realistically, I don't think he makes it this Basho. Next is he should be if he gets 2 more losses, he should be concentrating on setting up for next Basho.
Yeah. So we got, I think, 2 other people at 7-1. We got Takanosho and Shodai, the former Ozeki.
Well, Takanosho's he's been in contention in the past. I think he might have had a runner-up status before.
He's been runner-up 3 times. 3 times, and he was even in a playoff last year.
Yeah, so he's by no means. I mean, he's never been able to make it up to the Sanyaku ranks, but he's by no means he's by no means a middle of the pack guy. He's been able to search forward and position himself before. So,
well, and actually he's been Sekiwake, so
Oh yeah, so yeah, he's been a Sanyaku before. So
yeah. In fact, when he made Sekiwake, he held that Basho for 4. He held that rank for 4 Basho. And he even returned. So, you never know.
Well, and Shodai is a former Ozeki, so
yeah. So, it's not like it's a big surprise that he,
it's not a big surprise that either of those guys are
well, in Shodai's case, he's kind of a very on and off type guy.
Well, yeah, and it looks like for the time being he's very on.
Yeah.
Well, and then so in the meantime, do we want to talk about like some of these 6-2 guys?
Yeah, so who do we? Well, Aonishiki, obviously we talked about, and then Waka Takakage's brother, the other Onami brother, Wakamoto Haru. I would think that since
finally getting some good matches going for him after the last
last two
three.
Basho, because even he was
he's had several Basho in a row where he hasn't been doing very well, but it looks like he's finally. Well, wasn't he dealing with a lingering injury though that he was trying to fight through though? I feel like that might have been an issue.
I'm not too certain. Maybe.
But he's finally, working his way back into, respectable contention. And then, something that's, we've talked that not you and I directly, but people have been talking about on the Sumo forum is that going back to Aonishiki is the fact that he always has a very low tachi-ai.
Mm-hmm.
His tachi-ai is low and his stance is low, and he continues to maintain that. And the guys who are able to typically win are the ones who are able to work around that. But most of the Rikishi can't find a way around that. They're taller guys, and so they've got issues with that. So, and Aonishiki just continues to keep maintaining that lower stance and doing the unconventional things like the knee.
Uchimoso, he does that it really cool. It's just like a kind of a slash across, and it just knocks people off balance.
Yeah, and these guys so far have not been able to adapt, and it doesn't look like. And like I said, the upper level guys, they're upper level guys for a reason, and they've been finding ways to adapt. At least a bunch of them. Onosato definitely, because he's got a winning record against, in the rivalry against Aonishiki, but other guys not so much. Like Hoshoryu, for example, is tied with him 1-1, and last Basho he lost. And that was really impressive because, Aonishiki basically did a double leg on him.
Yeah. So let me see here. Who else do we have in the 6 and 2 pack? Because this is the last group of people we'll discuss. Ura, who has been having a surprisingly good Basho, and a lot of his matches have actually been more. A few of his wins have been more traditional type wins, in a way. So that's something for him. We also have Tobizaru, another kind of smaller guy.
The funny thing about Ura is he's actually been facing guys who are actually closer to his height and weight. Because like this Basho, he went against like Midori Fuji, not Tobizaru, Toki Hayate. So he's been facing guys who are kind of closer to him in terms of weight and height. So, which is why he's been having the traditional stuff, because when you're going against someone similar to you in size and weight, there isn't much room for the traditional stuff that works against someone who's bigger.
Another guy, Fujinokawa, he had to go against. So he's lost to Takanosho, who's one of the leaders, and then also Shodai, who's one of the people on the leaderboard. So
yeah, the rank and file. Yeah, the rank and file guys who are.
Everyone else that he's gotten wins against either were kind of mid or have had losing records so far. But we'll see how he's doing.
Oh, since we mentioned Tobizaru, he's one of the 6 and 2 guys.
Yes, he is one of the 6 and 2 guys. He
had injury issues last Basho too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And
that's why he's all the way at M15.
Yeah, fortunately the flying monkey has rebounded, it looks like.
Well, I would say that, because he's a pretty mid type guy. He also has he also does have Komusubi experience. He's been in the Sanyaku. So it's not like, again, so he's more of a mid to higher level type of guy. So I think for him to be doing as well as he's doing should not be that big of a surprise. Who else? Ryu then, you know, kind of comes and goes, 6-2. And then lastly, we have Aonishiki's, I think it's compatriot, right?
Yep.
Shishi is also 6-2. Shishi had a some
miraculous Maegashira
Banzu,
18.
yeah, Banzuke luck there at Maegashira 18.
Yeah, and he's clearly capitalizing on it. He was gifted an opportunity, and he's gonna make sure that it's not wasted.
Yeah, so he will. I mean, unless something happens where he has a disastrous second week and goes, you know, 1-6. He should be able to maintain his stay in the top division.
He also. So here's the thing: Shishi is a tall guy. He's not one of the heaviest guys, but he's a taller guy. And the problem seems to be that he's had trouble actually utilizing that advantage, especially when he gets into Makunouchi. But then also he's had to deal with injuries the last few Basho. So it finally looks like he's healthy and he's actually figured out this is what I need to do in order to actually compete at this level.
Yeah, good point. You know,
of course, I do feel like he has a ceiling. It's like lower mid.
Well, you know, one thing I noticed is that I don't want to say he's like bulky type in a way, but there's this thing I see about how, you know, some of his sumo, like when he first got into the division, it seemed a little bit clunky to me. You know, and again, like you said, there's some development that he can still do. You know. So
yeah, well, and again, that when you're that size, that clunkiness can be an advantage to you. But then when you get up to the upper division, where guys are used to dealing with that clunkiness all the time, and they're more technical, especially if they're the same size or like close to it and more technical, then the clunkiness just does. It stops being an advantage and becomes a disadvantage. Like, I forgot, have Shishi and Kinbozan faced each other?
Oh, that's a good question.
They seem like the type of guys who have like a similar style, except that Kinbozan has been able to adjust and add a little bit more technicality to his sumo. Something that Shishi's slowly but surely adjusting to.
Well, let's use the nice sumo database. So they have faced each other on 2 occasions, and they were 1-1. So now, based on their rankings, because Kinbozan's at M8, so I don't think they will be facing each other this Basho. Not unless Shishi is in the running.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Kinbozan seems to also be that type of guy who's got a ceiling as well, because he only he seems like he's only able to go so far before he hits some kind of hits a ceiling in terms of the technical guys. And I think, like, I mean, whatever his top has been, like M5 or whatever, it seems to be like that's as far as he can go.
M3 for Kinbozan. So
M3.
yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't. Yeah, he goes up against the Sanyaku guys, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are way more technical than me. So I don't think guys like Shishi and Kinbozan, I think they have a ceiling, and it's only gonna go so far. It's like maybe if they have a spectacular Basho, they might get one of those two guys might get into Komusubi, but I don't see either of them getting higher than that. It's, we've seen these guys come and go all the time, and I just feel like they've got only so much technicality at some point it's not gonna progress any further.
Well, we're running short on time, so to close out this topic, before we do our final topic for today, Matthew, on day one, you predicted Onosato. Does your prediction still hold true?
I'm shifting a little bit more towards Hoshoryu. I'm not going to be unhappy if Onosato is able to come back and win it, but I think Hoshoryu's momentum is going well. Like I said, he's healthy. He seems to be mentally in there. He's athletically at his best. So I think Hoshoryu is going to get his first Yokozuna Basho.
Well, obviously, I had a feeling that it was going to go this way, so I'm not changing my prediction. Hoshoryu taking the Yushu as well, and I think it's just a matter of whether it's a. I think it's just a matter of whether it's a. Now, in some cases, he's had some close matches, so I think it's either a 13-2 or a 14-1. That's what I think. So, anyway, well, with that being said, Matthew, 2.5 minutes. One Piece new chapter will be coming out next week, chapter 1161, and I really think that this focus is somehow going to be surprisingly on Dragon more than all the other people. Somehow, some way.
To kind of demonstrate how
he ends up being a revolutionary.
It is kind of interesting to see how all the major players, both in the classical and the modern One Piece eras, are all at God Valley. You've got the God Knights. You've got it looks like the Gorose, because we saw.
Because Saturn.
Yeah, because Saturn's there. You've got the God Knights. You've got the Rocks Pirates. You've got
the Roger Pirates.
You've got the Roger Pirates. You've got two. You've got 2 out of the 3 modern what's it called? Emperors. You have all 4 of the first class of emperors. Let's say you've got Golden Lion Shiki. You've got Garp. You've got the what's it called? You've got the Pirate King.
All these major players, and
you've got like multiple leaders of the Revolutionary Army. It's like they're all here on God Valley, the zenith.
This is honestly, I mean, it would have to be fleshed out, but I think this might have been a bigger, incident than the Summit War. But obviously, I don't think that that will have the time to really go into it. But obviously, this is as big an incident as the Summit War.
A funny thing, and this really clicked for me, was when Garp arrived, he said, "Stop slicing up my men like vegetables." I would like to have seen the Japanese.
Yeah,
and see, because it's one of those things where I kind of got the joke, but it might have been one of those things where the pun made a lot more sense in Japanese.
Yeah.
Because as we know, there's a lot of stuff that gets lost in translation between the Japanese, like the pronunciation and stuff like that, as compared to the English. So I don't know if I mentioned this.
20 seconds.
I made a prediction last time, and I'm going to make this again. I think that Garp and Rogers team up against Rocks is going to be one of those accidental things. Like someone's going to save the other. Like Rocks is going to, something's going to happen. Rocks is going to have one at his mercy. He's going to try to kill the one, and the other's going to come in and save the other. And it's one of those things where Garp's going to be like, I can't believe I saved a pirate, or I was saved by a pirate, or something. that would actually be an interesting twist. Is if Garp is like, not only did I fight for the world nobles, I was saved by a pirate, or I had to save a pirate, or something. I think it's gonna be some kind of a twist like that. He's just like, why am I being called the hero of the Marines because of this situation?
Well, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you next time.